Hey everyone, I am Carrie Little, the designated managing broker of Caremark Realty Group, and I am also the blogger on smartgirlmedia.com and the owner of the Agent Journey. And many of you are watching this from the Agent Journey and you are listening to the content on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you about working with buyers. This will be different for you depending on which state you are in, and that's okay because I'm going to give you my tips and then I'm going to tell you where you might want to make some updates or be prepared to make adjustments. All right. So when you are working with buyers, are you prepared when a buyer calls? Ring, ring. Hey, Carrie, I want to buy a house. So in this presentation, we will discuss the buyer process. Now, I'm going to give you several steps, and just know, depending on which state you are in, you might make some changes because your documents will be different from my documents. Your closing process might be a little bit different. We actually go to the actual closing table in Illinois. So number one, when a buyer calls, create a buyer intake form or buyer consultation form. Make sure to be as detailed as possible. Now, I am going to say, do you have to use a buyer consultation form? This was me, 2001, Microsoft Excel. I needed a place where I could type it in. You could also use a Google form. You could use your client relationship management tool. We happen to have a great MLS in Illinois. And if a client calls, I can open my MLS, open up a new client folder, and grab all of the information. However, what that might not do is give me the buyer consultation information. So you could create a form like this, and it'll help you, it'll guide you to asking the right questions. So when someone calls, I want to know, I want to know the date, they called, so I'm writing the date. I want to know, their email. I want to know, are they paying cash for the property? Are they getting a mortgage? Have they talked to a loan officer? What they're really looking for in a home, like what is their dream scenario? So I'm asking a few questions all the way down to, do you have a loan officer? Do you have an attorney? Have you ever purchased a home before? So using this form will keep you on track, or a Google form. And the benefit of using a Google form is it could be on your mobile device. And when someone calls, you can say, you know what, it's great talking to you. I'm going to send you over my form so you can fill it out. And so I know how to help you better. All right. So number two, after your buyer intake consultation, comply with license law in your state. In Illinois, we have to send the lead-based paint brochure and the radon brochure. Depending on which brokerage you're with, they might have different documents they want you to send. So I will use either .loop, DocuSign, HelloSign, something to send all of the important documents. I like using any signature tools just in case I'm using exclusive agency, but that day they are getting the brochures. So I comply with license law, and at least in my state, the consumer's guide to agency. So write down, what do you need to send from your state? Number three, the buyer consultation. So this is where you go sit down and you take time to go over the home buying process. And this is when you send your client to a loan officer if they don't already have someone. Yes, you can build that list of three mortgage companies, and you can build a buyer packet. You can share an affiliate sheet of your affiliate partners. So for example, I have a sheet that has 3 inspectors, 3 attorneys, 3 loan officers, etc. And this way, I can allow my clients to pick someone that I'm already working with, or I can say, you know what, you can always work with your local bank or someone that has been referred to you from someone else. Now, make sure you go over the process, the contract, and once the buyer's under contract, set the expectation. So here's just a really quick guide. Now, this is from Cloud CMA, and this is a guide to what you could use. So if you're in my market, we get Cloud CMA. And so I would go over the process, getting pre-qualified, making their wish list, hiring a real estate professional, me, selecting the home, making an offer, getting an inspection. Then I might have to also throw in, we use attorneys, getting an appraisal, going to closing. Now, I will tell you this, even when I talk about, nowhere in here did I really talk about the contract other than making an offer. But this is where I get out another sheet of paper and I talk about where you're going to spend money. So like you might spend money right out the gate on earnest money. When you have an inspection, depending on which mortgage company you work with, there might be an application fee. like all of the things that you're going to spend right away. And then I talk about when you talk to your loan officer, find out if you're going to get a gift from your parents or someone, how does that work? All right. So that's just a guide. Cloud CMA works great. Now, your home search, create a search from your multiple listing service based on your buyer search criteria. And if you have an app from the company you work with, I use HomeSnap, so I will send my HomeSnap app. If you use Remind also has a website. So take advantage of some of those tools. Now, once you've sent that, and the reason why you want to send your app is because your goal is to keep the consumer off of the other websites. Now, I'm saying pre-approved buyers only. Now, why am I saying this? Don't show homes without a pre-approval, and I highly recommend having the buyer fully underwritten. This is almost as good as cash. Otherwise, you're window shopping. Now, what does an underwritten loan look like? Underwritten means that your buyer has turned in all of their paperwork to the mortgage company, and the loan officer has given all of the paperwork to the underwriter. Now, it could be in a different order, but they've given all of the paperwork to the underwriter, and the underwriter has underwritten the mortgage, except you now need a house. So it's almost as good as cash because the house still has to appraise. You will have to verify paperwork before closing and a few other things. So talk to the loan officer. Don't go showing houses without at least a pre-approval, or maybe being fully underwritten. Now, let me say this. Even though I'm saying don't go show, you need to discern your client, because you might have a client or a friend, they have the money. I get it. But if you are in a seller's market, shopping without a pre-approval could hurt you later, because now you're in a multiple offer situation and they don't have their documentation. Now, number 6, showing homes. Schedule showings once you have your pre-approval. Don't wait for your buyer to decide to look at homes. You have to put the things in motion, because if you wait, you're keeping money on the table. Take ownership of the transaction, show up on time, and ask questions during the showing, and pay attention to what your buyer likes and dislikes, because they're going to tell you if they like the house. They start moving furniture in, oh, this will fit. That could be the house for them. Number 7, the offer. Is your client ready to write an offer? Be prepared to do a quick buyer market analysis and write an offer. Be prepared. Don't wait to learn how to write a contract the day you have to write the contract. Send the offer to the listing agent and confirm receipt once you've written the contract. The contract, the disclosures, the approval, the proof of funds, and maybe a copy of the earnest money check. Talk to your managing brokers. It might be different for you in your state, but send a full completed package, confirm receipt, and make sure your buyers get a copy of all documentation. That is why I like transaction management tools. Update the offer after negotiation, and after the seller signs, make sure your client has a copy. Now, number 8, under contract. Once you're under contract, make sure to send all paperwork to your client, the loan officer, and if you're working with an attorney, and if you're working with a title company and escrow, make sure everyone has the documents. We don't want to have to hunt for this stuff because there are contingency dates. Number 9, keep track of all contingency dates, follow up with your client, and schedule any inspections, walkthroughs, and final walkthroughs, and use your client relationship management tool. Now, this is the basics. There's so much more that go into contingencies and following up. Don't disappear on the client. Follow-up call, do you have any questions? And number 10, during the transaction, always follow up via email and your CRM, maybe make a phone call. Keep track of every conversation, and remember, when you follow up, always follow up. Make sure, in your CRM, you're tracking it, because if you ever end up in a scenario where you have to prove that you didn't disappear, your client relationship management tool, Microsoft Excel, look, you could go old school and we could just use like old school notebook. That could work. So pick something, track the transaction. Follow up with all parties to the contract and the loan officer and the attorney and escrow or the title company. And in closing, ask for a testimonial. You might take a photo, and you might also post that on social media. As you grow your business, adjust, always update your buyer process, educate yourself, always continue to learn, always be willing to make changes, and get feedback. When your client provides feedback, take a breath. You need all the feedback. So thanks for watching. I'm Carrie Little. If you happen to be listening to me on YouTube, subscribe. If you are in the agent journey, put your comments in the chat. And if you are one of my agents, let's have a conversation. Please make sure you are always showing up for class.